My understanding over the years of what causes conditions such as ME/CFS and long COVID has completely changed. I mean, going back all the way to me growing up with a mother who had chronic fatigue syndrome, starting from when I was 5 years old, and then me having ME/CFS for 10 years before fully recovering, and now the 5 or 6 years since then, when I've been researching and interviewing hundreds of people and just understanding this all so much better. I mean, my understanding has completely changed because all of our understanding has completely changed. So, right now, what I'm going to walk you through is the three top science backed habits that trigger symptoms and bring them on in these conditions. And I'm going to tell you what's behind that and then what to do instead, how to get rid of these habits or what to replace them with so that you're no longer triggering these symptoms. So I don't know how many years back, but a few years back, I think we all started to think we were kind of onto some things and we were pretty smart and we are pretty proud of ourselves. Like, yes, I see what's happening here. I think if you even read my book that I published, I'm sure that I say this because that's the way I used to understand it. It's like ME/CFS and long COVID or vaccine injury or whatever it is a result of, it's like the straw that broke the camel's back because of doing too much. Like we hear all these people, these overachievers, these ultra athletes, people that are burning the candle at both ends. They're working full time. They're running marathons. They're running charity organizations. They're parents. They're traveling. They're just doing all the things. And then we think at some point, like the body says no, right? It's just too much. It was just this perfect storm and your body shuts down and here you are, full of all these crazy symptoms as a result of being an overachiever or of running marathons or whatever it might be, which sounds plausible, right? And it wasn't so far off, but it falls apart. And this is important to understand so that you can see the distinction of why these specific habits bring on symptoms, because there are ultra athletes in the world who don't have ME/CFS or long COVID. There are people working crazy hours every week and burning the candle at both ends. And, they don't have vaccine injuries or long COVID. And I'm not saying I understand what is at the core of every single one of the hundreds of millions of people on the planet who have these conditions. What I'm sharing is what we are seeing as the themes in a large majority of the cases. When we're looking at chronic symptoms, sometimes there is a physical cause that needs to be addressed. Absolutely. But the research is showing us that in the overwhelming majority of cases, chronic symptoms, they are very different in nature than acute short-term symptoms. Chronic symptoms are what are termed neuroplastic in nature, meaning they're a result of changes in your brain as a result of your nervous system reacting to different things. So it's not that you did too many things. It's not that you were getting a degree while doing a triathlon and parenting two children and your body shut down and said no. It wasn't like too much activity, breaking point. What it is danger assessment, danger assessment, danger assessment, danger assessment over days, months, years, decades, and then one final danger assessment. And that is what broke the camel's back. It is your nervous system's response to too many threats in your environment. And as I say time and time again on purpose, because I really want to drive this home, that emotional threats and physical threats are assessed the exact same way in your brain. And some really strong, scary feelings, stress, shame, rage, all these things we're pushing down. When they bubble up and we reach this point where it's too much, it sets off the same alarm bells in our system, in our nervous system, as a person chasing you with a gun. and your body responds with symptoms. You might get adrenaline going and cortisol going. It might get your heart pumping. It might put you in freeze mode and give you extreme exhaustion and things that really take away your ability to even move. It uses that same arsenal that it has as it's at its disposal to let you know that something's wrong. Like, hey, pay attention. I'm going to give you some symptoms to get you to stop and deal with what's going on. And an important thing to understand is that this likely wasn't just threat assessments, danger assessments that were happening just this month or this year. For many people, this goes all the way back to childhood. And we see a direct correlation between people who had some level of childhood trauma and who develop these sorts of nervous system regulation conditions later in life. Because when you have things in your childhood, whether it's parents with addictions or mental health issues, or just that drive you really hard, or you go to a competitive school, or all of these things, all the way up to, you grew up in a war zone or in an abusive situation, all of these things can get you to see the world through a lens of danger. Your nervous system goes into high alert and it just stays there. So you're more likely to have a nervous system as an adult that's going to really smack you down with symptoms in response to things that it might not need to be doing that for. So the research here shows us an insight on all of this that really changes anything, that there are 3 habits that most people facing these conditions have that are triggering these symptoms. And these are, and this is profound, worry, putting pressure on yourself, and self-criticism. Now, when I learned about this, and this is coming out of the science and the research from Alan Gordon at the Pain Psychology Center in California. He is one of the leading experts on mind-body medicine, brain retraining, nervous system regulation, neuroplastic pain, and a whole bunch of other hard to pronounce words. But when I read this, I thought, you just summed up my 20s. That was all of my 20s, and actually even my teen years. I can clock this all the way back to when I was about 12 years old, to when I started junior high and I started getting bullied and I started being scared at school. And then in high school, being even more terrified and fueled by anxiety and being popular and will the boys like me, and just worrying about all the wrong things that teenagers just naturally do. And then into adulthood, constant worry, constantly putting pressure on myself. I was never good enough. I had to work out 7 days a week. I had to have the perfect wardrobe. I had to, just do everything perfectly. And I was constantly criticizing myself. I was so hard on myself. Every conversation, every interaction. Why did I just do that? Why did I just say that? My clothes look dumb. Everyone else looks so much better than me. Why aren't my grades good enough? Sitting in meetings as I was a young adult and feeling like I just wasn't as smart or as confident as the other people in the room. And then bam, at age 30, I got CFS. I had been living the perfect storm of the exact habits that more often than not bring on these conditions. And if you're hearing this right now, and if you're thinking, like, wait a minute, this is ringing some bells, like that sounds like me too. That sounds like my journey leading up to where I am now. Oh my goodness, like I need to stop this immediately. Like, why have I been doing this? Like, how do I fix this today? It's the exact same cycle that got you here. You start worrying about it, you start criticizing yourself, you start being hard on yourself, and on it goes. What got you into this is not what's going to get you out of this. And what this all boils down to, what these 3 habits at their core are things that keep your nervous system in a high alert state. So you need to have ways to break that high alert habit that you're living through your behaviors and your thoughts every single day. And what drives the high alert habit is fear. when we break down the core of, what is worry? What is self-criticism? What are these habits that are triggering symptoms? What is anxiety? It's fear, and it's going through your days with more fear than is manageable and just constantly telling your nervous system, things are not okay. Things are not okay. Things are not okay. So how do you break this high alert habit? So many of us, and this is normalized, and if this is you, that is okay. You are not alone. It is me. It is so many of us, but we go through our lives in this stress mode. We are just constantly on edge. We don't feel like we can ever relax. A really good example of this, and actually a really big driver of this, is our phones. It seems like a simple thing, but the average American checks their phone, I believe it's 221 times a day. It's an astronomical number. It's insane. And that alone is disturbing. But why it matters, why I'm talking about it right now, is that research has shown that something happens every time you pick up your phone and check it. One, you get a hit of dopamine. You get a hit of feel good. You might get some adrenaline, but also every single time you get a hit of cortisol. Every time. So that's 221 stress responses on average every single day. And sometimes there are cases, or not cases, there's just a lot of people that the studies are now showing us that get something that they call phantom notifications. That means they're like, was that a notification? I think I just got one. And they pick it up. Oh, no, there's nothing there. Nothing there. It is a classic example of you being on high alert all day long. So a simple thing you can do is just turn all your notifications off. I have every single one of my notifications off, I think except for like text messages and maybe one other thing. But the 97 other apps in there, no, I have no idea when people are messaging me, and people are always going to have to wait to hear back from me, and that is okay. And another one, and this is one I struggle with, I think a lot of us do, but it's important, is to just practice keeping it in another room sometimes. Like, why do I even have my phone here right now? I don't need it. Put some boundaries around it. My husband once told me this, that I was like this. Like, like those lizards where their eyes can look different directions independently of one another, like just constantly scanning the environment, or like looking at every little thing, phone, this, that, what's on my computer, what's over here. Just never relax. The great news is that you don't have to completely change your life or become a monk meditating on the top of a mountaintop. That was a lot of M's. You just have to shine a light on some of your habits. You just have to be more present, because once you see what's going on, because as they say, you can't quit smoking if you don't know that you're smoking. So first, just start paying attention. How am I living my days? Let's just be present as much as possible on a moment-to-moment basis. And let's take a look at the things that I'm doing. Am I picking up my phone 221 times a day? Okay, that's probably a good place to start. And another really simple thing that we can do, simple but not easy, takes practice, is just staying in the moment. Something else I talk about a lot, because so much of the stress that we experience is about things in the past, things that we can't change, things that are gone, or things in the future that we have made up in our brain and we don't know how they're going to go, but we're over there ruminating about what about this? What about that? And a great way to think about those things is that no matter what you're envisioning, chances are it's going to be okay. Like a really small amount of time, there's some sort of actual disaster that will happen. But the rest of the time, yeah, there might be an optimal and a less optimal outcome, but either one's going to be fine. You're going to be fine. So as much as you can just pull yourself back into right now and see that 98% of your stress is happening in moments outside of what is happening right now. The best way to act this out in your life, I'm going to tell you why I do. And I hope that picturing this can help you a little bit too. So when I go through my days, I try and be like my dog, Chloe. She is just relaxed and chill and happy to just like hang out in the closet and do nothing. She will spend 20 minutes playing with a hair clip of mine that she found on the floor. And for her, that is time really well spent because it brought her joy. And that's what her life is about. Having fun, taking care of her needs. She sleeps when she's tired. If she wants love and affection, she comes up to me and she sits on my lap and puts her head under my hand and says, I want some cuddles. I want some loving right now. If she gets scared, if she assesses a threat, if she sees a big dog, she'll jump up my leg. She'll let me know that she needs something. So I pick her up to help her to feel safe. If she hears someone in the hallway, she'll bark. She's like, everyone pay attention. And then as soon as they're gone and it passes, she goes back to whatever it is she was doing, like playing with a sock she found on the floor. Incidentally, her favorite things in life are things she finds on the floor that do not belong to her. But it's the simple things. But she is not stuck in high alert. And for us humans, like that perfectionism and that stressful stage that so many of us live in is not the way to live. And as with everything, approach this with a ton of self-compassion. Be kind to yourself. Be loving to yourself. Have patience with yourself. Treat yourself like the little child version of yourself or another little child. How would you treat them as they are going through things in their life? Give yourself that same grace. And I'm going to link here another video that talks about the core of where a lot of this is coming from. So right now we're talking about those daily habits that trigger symptoms, and addressing those daily habits can go a really long way. But sometimes there's something bigger, something deeper rooted in us that is at the core of where all this is coming from. And this video that I'm linking right here is going to explain exactly how to deal with that. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you in this next video.